ICE is touting a recent raid in Atlanta where they arrested more than 1,200 illegal aliens. This comes after President Trump signed 2 executive orders to crack down on birthright citizenship and birth tourism.
They've taken birthright citizenship and they've made a joke out of it. And we're actually the only country of size, I think just about the only country, period, that does birthright citizenship. I thought we were going to win it at the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, we had a bad decision, very unfair decision. Our country suffers because of it, and we're ending it a different way.
The DOJ is also launching a new grant program called Bridging Immigration-Related Deficits Experienced Nationwide, or Biden for short. They offer up to $3 billion to cities that team up with federal immigration enforcement. And that's just one piece of the administration's immigration crackdown. For more, we turn to Joey Jones, who is at the big board. Joey.
Yeah, guys, there's only one way to look at this, and that's through the numbers and then have a debate on if those numbers are where they should be or need to be. So we're going to go on the big numbers first. So the amount of arrests, the amount of apprehensions, depending on and in custody, we need to break this down a little bit. So you've got CPB and ICE. We've got the 7-day average, which is, hovering around 1,000 for CPB, over 1,000 for ICE. Then you've got total. And this is since basically the end of January in 2025. So this is almost a 18-month thereabout total. You've got almost 500,000 with CPB. You've got well over 500,000 with ICE. And then, so that brings it all together to obviously more than a million, quite a bit. These are just arrests. Then you look at your in custody 7-day average. It's pretty similar numbers between ICE as far as your 7-day average in August of 26 and 25. But the number actually does tick up in everything in 2026. So if you're talking about pacing on the calendar year, we're doing as much this year, if not a little bit more, than we did last year. The big difference there being a new DHS director and everything that happened in Minneapolis that supposedly has changed this strategy and how they want to arrest folks.
All right, Joey, so how many illegals have been deported since President Trump has taken office? Yeah,
that's it. How many have been deported? That's the number that Americans care about. That's the number that Americans who voted for President Trump care about. So right now, the number is 1.484574. That's the number that we have right now today. There are other numbers out there. These don't all add up to that, and I don't have a clear explanation why, but these numbers are very current and are very well sourced through DHS. And so the reason why I want to put this up here is you need to look at this number here, known self-departures. That's your second biggest number on the screen. Now, why is that? From what I understand and what I'm being told by agents, when someone is arrested by ICE or CPB, they have the option to go then self-deport. Leave now. If you're from South America, chances are you're out of the country within a week. If you're from places like Iran, that might take a little longer because they may not take their people back. And so those known self-departures, a lot of those fold into the ICE operations and CPB operations. So when you look at this number, it is closer to a deportation number than anything else. And also, I thought it was interesting to put the United States Coast Guard up there at 952. Their numbers fall under the State Department, and you have to roll them back in. So when you see numbers reported out there, sometimes it's where they're coming from and making sure all the agencies are accounted for.
So, Joey, all of that enforcement you're talking about sounds pretty expensive. What are taxpayers actually paying for all of this? Yeah, so this is interesting. So a lot of people, especially on the Democrat side, would say, hey, it costs money to deport them, costs more money to deport them than it does to keep them here. I don't know, not so fast. So the U.S. average is about $2,500, so that's per taxpayer, to do the deportation operations. So that's different than per person being deported. So it costs the average taxpayer right now, in our efforts at ICE, when you look at all the funding and everything, about $2,500. But when you're talking about the price per illegal immigrant of what they're costing taxpayers a year, you're at almost $10,000. You're over $9,000. So what does that mean? That means it's not a one-for-one. It's not, it costs $2,500 to deport this person and $9,000 to keep them here. But what it does mean is this is a compounding number. That's $9,000 a year per taxpayer for the illegal immigrationists here. We're not even touching the fraud. So once you find out what that real fraud number is and start to factor it out, that number only goes up.
And the fraud number is huge, and who knows what that is.
And that number attacks both sides.
Precisely. So with all those numbers in mind, where are the estimated, what is it, around 330,000 Haitian
Yeah, this
migrants
is a
who
more
could be caught up in all this,
nuanced
Joey.
part of
Go
this.
ahead.
This is what happened. We just had the opportunity, the Trump administration was just allowed to go after that temporary protected status for other countries as well, but mainly Haiti, or at least that's the one that's made the most headlines for obvious reasons. So a couple of things here. One, you can see the states that they're primarily condensed in. And ICE is operating in these states, but I think the nature of ICE right now is to keep things below the public view. They don't want the things that happen in Minneapolis. They don't want opportunities for those things to happen again. Whether that's right or wrong, a good strategy or not, that's their strategy. But you've got big numbers, 40,000 in New York, 14,000 in Ohio. A lot of them work in the healthcare industry there in Ohio, so some of the hospitals aren't happy about them leaving, but you know what? Hey, they're here illegally. It's time for them to go, no matter how long they've been here. So one of the things they're doing, they've got these GPS monitors. We can't get a number on how many of them have them, but it shows you what they're trying to do with them. You can't leave a 75-mile radius without permission. You can't skip your check-ins. You can't remove or tamper with it. What you can do is you can apply to self-deport. That's number one. That's what they're actually encouraging them to do right now as they litigate the process of deportation. If you self-deport, that saves us all money. It saves you time being held in detention once we make that decision. Obviously, they're going to give them some money. I don't know if that's going to stick around forever. And you can organize their return lawfully, give them the best chance of success when they get there. Listen, guys, you know, a lot of Americans want to see a lot of mass deportations, tens of thousands. I think that a lot of Americans voted for that. What DHS is saying is that it's not that easy. I don't know.
All right, we're going to bring it back over to the table for some hot thoughts on this hot topic. Joe, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah.
So we see some of the numbers here. DHS is, giving us some of them. I don't know the exact breakdown of the numbers and how many of these people have final orders or how many of this is rolled over from when Kristi Noem was in charge of DHS. There's a lot of ambiguity in the numbers that we have over there that I have my own thoughts on.
Okay.
But from what Joey showed us there with the overall deportation numbers, do you think that that is fulfilling the mission that we voted for?
Can I answer your question with a question? You said you have your own thoughts in terms of the numbers. I want to hear them.
Oh, well, the deportation number, the arrest numbers, I wish we had a little bit more of a breakdown of what those numbers entail.
Okay.
I think that there's a lot more insight that we could be given from DHS, and I would like to know if there's any worksite enforcement going on. I would like to know if, again, some of these numbers here of the arrests, they also include people who are turned around at the border. There's a lot that the numbers can tell you, and a lot from the Obama administration when they had similar numbers, and they also used some of the same strategies in those numbers. So there's a lot more that we could get into, Joe, but I'm not going to filibuster this entire segment.
No, don't do it.
I do want to ask you, though.
You tease the audience. I want it all out there.
I think that the more transparent DHS could be about the numbers and where the enforcement is occurring and how many of these people are worst of the worst and how many of these people have a criminal record and how many of these people are just in our country illegally taking our jobs and filling our schools. I think that's important for the American people to know.
You want some assurance that they're not picking and choosing based on their own personal whims, like, hey, I want these people on this farm, but I don't want them in that factory. And that's what a lot of Americans are asking. And that's why when Mark Wayne Mullin says what he said in that one interview, people start asking questions. Now, he backed it up with a post. But then now there's enough ambiguity there that people start asking more questions and get more skeptical.
Yeah. So, Joe, back to my original question. Do you think that deportation number satisfies the mass deportation promise?
I think in the end, and we talked about this last night, it bears repeating, until the Save America Act is passed, you could deport as many people as you like. But if that does not pass and we don't have a system where illegals are not voting in any way, shape, or form, which the Save America Act would do, then I don't know if any of this matters. In the big picture, that is the whole ball game, is passing that act. And the fact that Murkowski's not going to vote for it because, well, she's basically a Democrat, and Susan Collins won't because she's in an election year, and Tom Tillis is a prick. Sorry, he's just doing to carry this out against Trump. And then obviously Mitch McConnell hasn't spoken to a camera in 2 months. Until you pass that, I don't think all these numbers matter. I really don't.
Anita, in terms of breaking this down, and let's talk about the TPS. So it was a big victory for the Trump administration to be able to end this temporary, which has been forever protected status for a few of these different groups. And we've talked about Haitians, and Joey pointed out the Haitians, and that there are some healthcare systems that they don't want their labor to go. And they feel that they must have Haitian migrants because I guess Americans simply won't do that job, or that's so we're told. Do you think that there's a place to have discussions about certain industries that should be able to allow migrant workers to be under their employ?
You know, luckily I don't make these decisions. So I think it's a topic that many people would like to talk about. Joey mentioned the other day the HB2 visa. I think, you know, it's a topic of discussion. I'm not going to weigh in on it. But to your other point about these numbers, are the numbers high enough? I think it's important to show the numbers because it does show some accountability. Right now, the U.S. government is paying people to self-deport $2,600 each. If I'm an illegal immigrant in this country, I'm taking the money and I'm running, you know, to go home and try to start a life there.
It costs more than that to get back. That's the problem. It's a good little carrot if they know they're going to be deported anyway. That's what I was pointing out. A lot of them are choosing to self-deport because they've already been arrested and it's only a matter of time and they can get a check on the way. I don't know if that's really a great thing. I'll tell you this, Tommy, the numbers of who is in this country illegally range from estimates 8 to 20 million. 1.5 million in 2 years ain't enough. Now, the answer might be because we don't have the resources to do anymore, but it ain't enough, and it's not what people voted for.
And I think, and I know we got to go, 10 seconds. The alternative is to elect Democrats to run the Senate and the Congress where they will abolish ICE altogether. So that number of 1.5 million being deported goes to 0. And that's what Republicans need to do in the midterms.
But
that is your contrast.
Joe, you can't just be better than the alternative when you run on mass deportations. And I know we got to go, but when you have more anchor babies being born than you're deporting, then you're never going to solve the problem.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.